Hey, how's it going everyone? Justin again as always. Thanks for watching my channel. Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the world of automotive and things that you might run into, whether you're at an independent shop or a dealership. These are just the facts. These are things that I've ran into, whether it was a tool that failed, a tool that's held up, some little tricks and tips when you're working on certain things, little suggestions and things like that that I've come across along the way. Weird things that you might notice, just a whole bunch of, I guess, really good information as far as the automotive world is concerned. So that being said, let's roll right into it. Alright, welcome to the world of automotive, where you never really know what's going to happen from day to day. You could have a tool that failed, you might have a component that failed that you weren't aware of. Let's talk about it. So here I'm getting ready to remove a harmonic balancer from a 7.5 liter Ford engine, using the OEM Tools harmonic balance puller. I've had this thing for about 9 years now. Still working today. Make sure you thread or lube the threads on your harmonic balance puller set. It'll last longer, your tool will appreciate. This thing heats up when you use it. 3 bolts don't quite fit. That's because I accidentally bent those bolts, or somebody bent them on the process, probably using it the incorrect manner. But overall, it's still held up. Kept this bolt from a small block Chevrolet, helps to press that pulley off. This little special tool, so this is pretty cool. I picked that up from Matco, but it helps to pull the rubber hose off of the radiator for like transmission cooler lines, heater hoses, you name it. These pinch-off pliers have been an absolute dream. Love them so much, I actually ordered 2 more. And there's a part number HP55. Those things are amazing. Like I said, this is the style of hose pinch-off pliers that I actually like. Sorry. Alright, you can see I got 2 of them here at work. I ordered 2 more. They just came in, but I've had them for about 6 months now, and they just keep holding up. I love those things. Alright, working on a Ford Triton. So anyone that's worked on these knows that bad things can happen. So what I like to try to do is use PB Blaster, some kind of lubricant or penetrant oil. You spray it down there on top of the plug. Give it some time, let it soak up a little bit, get down in that rust. This is probably like the better WD-40. I like it because of this flexible tip, so you can reach way back and know that you're actually squirting it down in the chamber. Don't use a lot, but use enough to cover the hole to free up the rust. So you can see, like, it can be a pain in the butt to try to get back there, which is why that thing comes in so handy. Alright, so now I got this weird apparatus here. So what I'm doing, I'm tightening it up a little bit, and then I'm loosening it. So first, a lightly tighten, not overkill, and then loosen. It's hard to do this with 2 hands. Give me a second here to recover. But after I loosen it, now it's free. I didn't break the plug off in the hole. I don't have to use a specialty tool anymore. They do have a specialty tool available though for the Triton especially. Here's the plug. You can see where some rust gets around the threads. I don't know if it's a metallurgy thing, but it just doesn't work. To get into certain spots to like gain access to like the coil and other things like that, you might need a small extension with like a 7mm wobble head. This happens to be a gear wrench, but it gets way down there, right on top of the coil. Makes it super easy to crack that baby loose and work it out without having to remove the fuel rail. Because let's face it, time is money, and removing the fuel rail will just take you extra time, which then the shop could potentially make less money because it's taking you longer than it should. So having these specialty kind of style of sockets absolutely serve their purpose and come in handy. Took me a while to realize that, and occasionally I do have to borrow a different style of socket that maybe somebody else has in the shop. Maybe it's magnetic. Maybe it's a universal that's shallower than the one that I have. Because you will run into situations where when you buy it, it's taller than some of the other ones. You have to grind it down. So now back here you'll see that I'm trying to get underneath the fuel rail as well. Sometimes you need more lighting than just an underhood light, but you can get underneath that fuel pressure regulator in order to get to the other coil, and it can be done. It's an extreme angle, but you can at least crack it loose, and then once it's loose you can just finger it out. So not a huge ordeal, Just something, food for thought if you ever work on a Triton. So checking it out, there's some brackets. You gotta take this air cleaner off, a couple of brackets that might be in your way like this one, some vacuum lines and whatnot. You don't have to remove all of it, but you can separate most of it and kind of move it to the side and at least get it out of your way. Then this little cover goes on and it's held down by like 3 10mm bolts. And it's gonna be pretty much just like that on any of the Tritons for the most part. Here's the tools I use. I didn't use very much. Did use the Milwaukee 1/4 inch ratchet with a flex head, some extensions, a 5/8 socket, wobble, you know, 10mm deep. This tool broke. This was my leak detection tester for blown head gaskets from Matco. Had that a little over a year and it started leaking out of the tip, so I had to send it in to get it fixed. Couldn't cover under warranty. Cost me 38 bucks. Okay, battery terminal. So this is the problem I have with parts. Sometimes you order one, they bring you the wrong one even still. And you can see the terminals are on the complete opposite side, so now you're in a waiting game, waiting for the parts department to come by, drop off the correct battery, and pick up the old one. This memory saver saves the computer. Like Honda has this thing where you type in a code, so that way you don't, you can get your memory back from the radio. But they do have this memory saver, so when you disconnect the battery, you don't lose the memory. So it's a pretty handy tool made by EasyRed. Turn the stereo on, as you can see, all their channels for the most part, well, I'm turning it off, it's on the CD player, but hang on a second. So I'm gonna switch it over. So all their channels and presets have been saved utilizing this memory saver. This was in a Nissan, but just to give you an example. In the independent world, you run into some really cool cars that people want you to work on, like this Stingray. Look at this old, was this probably an 80s Stingray. All right, don't forget to lube your air tools. I know I kind of neglect it sometimes. I forget about it too. But even if you don't have any air tool oil like I do, or you can just put a couple little drops in here, you can use a squirt of WD-40, a squirt of ATF. I've heard of people using all different types of stuff. Now when you go to use it, you'll see that, you know, I run into this little area and this problem where I can't quite clean the top of the cylinder head off with, because the air hose just seems to be dragging and catching on everything. This is the kind of thing that I would use for cylinder heads, a little tiny finger cleaner, but you'll see once I get into this weirder angle or more of a tighter angle, it just becomes awkward. So let me show you this adapter. You can get this style of adapter that swivels and pivots, makes it to where your life is so easy, the hose just flexes over the car. Without it, this is kind of what you can expect your day to look like. So you're trying to clean it up, and then the hose is catching on your magnetic tray, you knock it off, bolts go everywhere, or it's catching underneath the hood or the wiring harness, and you're moving stuff around, and it's just an absolute chore. So I love those pivot adapters for air tools, and I try to have them on all the weird air tools I need. So I found this in a car that I purchased. I wanted to flip it and sell it, but the wife might actually want to keep it. I'll show you guys a little bit later. But look at this old school Kmart socket set. That's pretty cool. Our press did finally break down, so we did ante up some money and purchase the one from Harbor Freight. Like I said, the one with Harbor Freight is a good quality one, but you do run into situations where I've found that reinforcing the hinges or the hinge points, people have welded these corners specifically to just make it that much stronger and durable, because the bolts hold up, but under great deals of pressure, I've heard the bolts breaking, so you might reinforce it with some weld. Maybe even down here too. Don't know. I haven't heard anyone saying anything about the bottom of it, but the top usually has issues, so you might do some reinforcement welds right there too. My transmission jack finally gave out at work. That kind of sucks. So I had to lower the car down to it to pull the transmission out through the rear main seal, and finally, after all that was done, we finally got ours in through UPS, and I had a new transmission jack. I haven't used it yet. I hope I like it just the same. It's a little bit different. It's going to take some getting used to. Grease is your friend when it comes to weird areas where you do not have a magnetic socket that's going to work. You put a little grease in your socket, you put the bolt in, and now you can see it's completely stuck there. I can flip it upside down, do whatever I got to do to get it started. Nice to know. Here's a bunch of the sockets that I ended up using today. You need all different types, man. This is all 10mm. Look, deep, shallow, flex, mid, short, impact, chrome. I mean, Jesus. This is a pocket scan tool that we use for almost everything. Checking monitors, pulling codes, looking at some small live data. It doesn't offer a lot, but you know what? It's good for what it's worth. So I get asked, what scan tool should I get? Something simple. These Husky sockets right here, they work, man. They hold up. I've had them for, what, the betterment of about a year now. Still kicking along. I did buy this box of Hardy gloves to try them out from Harbor Freight. Look, they've been holding up. Not nearly as well as the Monster ones, but I think for how much you pay, it's worth it. Here's why I love this style of ratchet. Look at this weird spot that I got to get into. You see I can curve around the CV axle and exhaust area without having to take the CV axle out? That's why I love this style of ratchet. Now tell me this guy didn't have a thermostat problem. This little O-ring came through and got all smashed up in there, so that was kind of entertaining to see. Alright guys, so that'll pretty much do it for this video. Look, I hope you enjoyed today's World of Automotive, the real world tricks, tips, suggestions, tools that held up, tools that didn't hold up, and my experiences with them. That's all I have for this video. I hope you're enjoying the content so far. If you like this style of video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Let me know down in the comments. And maybe I'll see if I can get some more video collection like this together, and maybe I can post it again next month. We'll see you guys next time. Deuces.